What if Klinklang was in Gen 1 OU? I'm sure a lot of people, myself included, were not a big fan of this guy when Generation 5 first came out. I think a lot of people thought it was pretty lazy, especially with its name, but times have changed, and it didn't become particularly popular since that time. But at the very least, I don't hate it anymore. And thankfully, in a Gen 1 environment, it can actually shine. Obviously, it's a steel type, which that alone is a very big deal. You have resistance to normal, psychic, and ice. All of those are the three most common attacking types in the game. So we're off to a great start. And also, these stats are just kind of insane for Gen 1. 100 attack, so the same as Tauros. 115 in defense, when you're already good at walling normal moves anyways. 85 special defense, so you're taking special moves pretty well. 90 speed, so you're just a little bit slower than Jinx, so you could look at it as being the 6th fastest Pokemon in the tier. But trust me, in execution, you are the fastest. The only thing that's kind of mid is the HP with 60, but even then, it's just only a little below average. I would say that 70 HP is average, and even then, you have high defense and pretty good, dare I even say solid, special bulk. So the HP isn't, it's not even that bad. It's mostly enough to where everything's a 3-hit KO, which is more than enough because you have Thunder Wave, and you have not one, but 2 signature moves, Shift Gear and Gear Grind. Now, for Gear Grind, it's going to be your stab. It's 50 base power, but you hit twice. So, honestly, not that bad. It allows you to have stab, and since it's Gen 1, if one of them crits, they both crit. So you're hitting pretty hard, unironically. Especially since you have 90 base speed, you're just pretty fast in general. But then there's Shift Gear, oh my gosh. Raises your speed by 2 and your attack by 1. It's just a better Dragon Dance, and it's a tremendously better agility, since you get an attack boost, which in of itself is pretty crazy. This thing is by far the fastest thing in the format, except for like Zapdos when it goes for agility exactly. So this thing is able to outspeed everything, has Hyper Beam with an attack boost, and you have a stab attack. The main issue has to do with the fact that Gear Grind is 85 accurate, so same as Fire Blast, which is pretty annoying. And also with Paralysis, it's still fine, but, you know, sometimes you just don't move at all. You also kinda suffer from 4 move spot syndrome. I didn't talk about it, but 70 special attack isn't the worst. That's the same as Tauros. And you have Thunderbolt. The one type of Pokemon that does wall you is probably Water Psychic, since it resists Steel. And I guess technically Electric, but to a lesser extent since Jolteon has low defense. But yeah, Slowbro and Starmie are pretty annoying, and you wish you can just have Thunderbolt for Starmie, but you just can't really afford it. You can try using it if you want, but it's probably better just to try to paralyze it, and then just try to outdamage it with resisted Gear Grind. Because Gear Grind, even though many things like Jolteon can resist it, with your attack boost, often you can maybe put them in a damage range of Hyper Beam, but not very likely. But it doesn't matter too much, since obviously in execution, Klinklang here is going to be a late game Pokemon. Once your Chanseys, or your Alakazams, or even your Starmies have already taken damage, use some of their resources, that's when you take this thing out, go for a Shift Gear, and then you can just go to town and destroy everything. I guess when you put it like that, you can maybe replace Thunder Wave with Thunderbolt, since you could probably use other Pokemon to paralyze, or you can just double down on becoming very fast and then killing everything. And obviously with your great typing, it just gives you more opportunities to do that. So yeah, overall, just a pretty good Pokemon. One that sets up and doesn't need its signature moves to be good in RBY. Yes, like, if I didn't add these, there's not much of a discussion. Although, I think you still have a full moveset either way. Obviously, there's Thunderbolt. But if I try looking, I think there's always something else you can use here. I think you still have a full moveset either way. Okay, maybe not. Okay, maybe this thing actually is unusable. Because obviously you're not using things like Toxic. Okay, it's actually a little worse than I thought without any signature moves. You'd probably have to use, like, Thunderbolt and... Yeah, no, it's just garbage. I'm trying to think of a way to justify it, but no. Even with the steel typing, this thing is basically unusable without the signatures. But also, why would I not add them in the first place? We're already going over hypothetical with adding a brand new Pokemon. You could already add new Pokemon and new moves in Gen 1 custom games. So what reason is there to just completely ignore the signature moves? We just want to make this interesting, you know? Speaking of which, let's get right into the replays. Starting off with the boy himself, we got Tauros. Earthquake pretty hard. And I wasn't really sure how exactly to do this. I decided, like, go for Thunder Wave and then go for Shift Gear so you can do better damage ranges. And it's definitely good because with one Shift Gear, even without that crit, you would probably bring Tauros, I believe, to like 52%. And that might be higher or lower depending on a damage range. So I don't know how to really go about this one. Do you paralyze Tauros and just go for an attack? Do you go faster first and then paralyze it? I really don't know. Either way, the could go either way, because both can really mess up the other. Unfortunately, you don't have as many strengths against Snorlax. For one, it's just way bulkier, which means Shift Gear is just out of the question. It's not going to make a significant difference unless there's crits or paralysis luck. And along with that, Thunder Wave is still annoying, but obviously it's not fast like Tauros, so you're not really losing as much for Snorlax. So it can just kind of kill you with Earthquake for the most part. Now Chansey. Chansey is mostly free as long as you don't get unlucky with paralysis. If you get lucky with paralysis, then like, yeah, it really sucks. Because Seismic Toss is doing good chip. And it's probably a case where, obviously, your pretty middling HP stat is kind of a problem. But as long as like that doesn't happen, and more likely than not, you're going to be fine, Chansey is not really going to be able to cook much. In fact, I'm pretty sure a critical gear grind can actually kill. Don't quote me on that, I never actually saw it myself. Now I want to do something fun. There are 3 Pokemon that get absolutely bodied by Klinklang, and I decided just to put all 3 of them in just one replay. So we have Zam, Jinx, and Victreebel. Can one Klinklang take them out? Obviously yes. Jinx and Alakazam have low defense, and for Jinx in particular, it's weak to Gear Grind. And then with Victreebel, it only has normal and grass moves. So there's like no chance it can actually kill Klinklang. So, not much I can really say here. The reason for why I can body all 3 is pretty obvious. And I think the fact that I can have a 3v1 where it's paralyzed and still sweep them, I think that already just goes to show how good it is. Let's just keep going. And now, we accidentally got the same replay twice. Let's go over the next one instead. And this time it's Cloyster, who is unfortunately really annoying. Granted, you're faster, which, you know, it's pretty obvious. 90 speed is good. But paralyzing it is a good start, but Clamp is still kind of the bane of you. And it doesn't help that even with Gear Grind, you're not really doing the best damage ranges. You need 1 Gear Grind just to do 40%, so that's a 3-hit KO. So yeah, it's really annoying. Cloyster's probably going to win the War of Attrition. With paralysis and maybe a crit or 2, it might be in your favor, but I wouldn't count on it. Eggy, on the other hand, you definitely do beat this pretty easily. Eggy only has Psychic, Grass, or normal moves, so it's not really going to be able to threaten you any way, shape, or form. For the most part, you're free just to go for Gear Grind. And I wouldn't even like bothering with Thunder Wave. You're probably just better off just going straight for Shift Gear so you can go for a sweep. And once that happens, yeah, Klinklang is going to take a lot of things out, or at the very least do damage. Because either you're going to just do good damage with Gear Grind, or if you know you're gonna get killed, you might as well go for Hyper Beam. Not on Gengar, for obvious reasons, but also Gengar hates paralysis, and Gear Grind, even without any boosts, is already like a 2-hit KO. So you might as well just go for Shift Gear if you want to get that guaranteed if it's full paralysis. But either way, you just kind of win against Gengar very easily. Doesn't matter too much. And then for Jolteon, it's awkward. Like, there are some advantages going for you here. For one, Jolteon hates paralysis just as much as you do, and you can become faster than Jolteon. So that's definitely a plus. But full paralysis can basically bone any chance you have. But also, Hyper Beam does mostly kill. So, Gear Grind, it might be able to put Jolteon in a range, but I never got to see it. Because I was having an annoying time with some of these replays, because obviously paralysis is very annoying. But here's one that I found interesting. Without any boost, Gear Grind's already a 2-hit KO on Rhydon. It depends on the damage range, but yeah, I thought this was going to be unwinnable, but no. Being weak to steel is actually very relevant there. I'm going to say it's more in like Klinklang's favor, because one, you know, it's faster, and because they have a better crit rate. But it doesn't matter too much. And then for Slowbro, I thought this could have been interesting, because with both of you having paralysis, and with Shift Gear making you faster, I thought you maybe had a chance, but probably not. Slowbro just gets, it's not faster, but with that, you know, like just getting like a bigger boost from Amnesia, it just 2-hit kills you almost immediately. Even a Hyper Beam wasn't going to kill from that range. The Slowbro just has a much bigger advantage, and one where I think you're just never going to win at all. You have to get super lucky with paralysis, and that's equally as likely as it is unlikely for you, since you're both paralyzed. Then for Starmie, now luckily you can become faster, and with, I would say, like, on paper, the most dangerous moves from Starmie, those being Psychic and Blizzard, you don't have to care about those because you resist it. But Surf Bolt is just as dangerous. But at the same time, you're just as dangerous with Hyper Beam. You need to do better with the damage ranges, but with you both of you being paralyzed, and with you being faster thanks to Shift Gear, while it's annoying that Starmie resists Gear Grind, you have a good chance at winning. It just depends on paralysis, really. And speaking of paralysis, that's kind of how this last one goes as well. Zapdos versus Klinklang. You resist Gear Grind of your Zapdos, but also, since Klinklang can become faster with Shift Gear, I think Zapdos actually is incentivized to go for Agility first. So Klinklang, no matter what, is always going to have like at least the attack boost, which is going to help a little bit with Gear Grind. But even with Agility, you end up being faster. And I think that's because of the attack boost. Like, Gen 1's very weird, and even without Agility, if you're both paralyzed, you can become faster if you have a stat buff. So I think that's what's happening here. But as you can see, even with it being resisted, Gear Grind did a lot of damage to Zapdos. So it's weird, but it's not an uneven fight. Zapdos has the advantage, obviously, but still, it can be very annoying. Overall, here is the tier list. And yeah, for a Pokemon that's just a bunch of, like, clanks, a clanker, if one must call it, it does pretty good. It also would probably do pretty well in a GSC as well. Honestly, I could see it doing good in Gen 3 and 4 also. Granted, you don't have Hyper Beam in those other generations, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Funny enough, I think it's only Generation 5 where it really would start to fall off, which is kind of funny. What do you think? You think it'd be OU? And if so, where do you think it would be on the viability rankings? Let me know in the comments below. But until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.